Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to this virtual open day of Eurojust. We are so glad to have you here at this event that we are organizing in the context of the Just Peace Month of the City of The Hague. Here in the studio, I have with me Miroslava Krasnoborova, who is Liaison Prosecutor for Ukraine at Eurojust. Hello, Miroslava.
Hello. Hi, Esther.
And my name is Esther Karolini. I work at Eurojust Corporate Communications Unit. We would like to invite you to tell us where you're joining from. As you can imagine, we haven't had the opportunity to have an open day from long distance before, but now we do. So in the poll that you see in the system, please let us know which category you belong to, where you are right now, and where you're joining this virtual visit to Eurojust from. In the meanwhile, though, let me tell you about the program for this 1 hour that you're spending with us. We will start with a visit to our building, which we can do in a virtual video tour. After that, Miroslava will tell you about her experience as a liaison prosecutor at Eurojust and how she handled a case that was supported by Eurojust. Now, we are taking questions from you. So please already take the time and opportunity to submit these in the chat function of the system. And we will be answering those questions in the second half of this virtual open day. And in the meanwhile, please also share your impressions on Twitter. We are live on Twitter, and you can follow the conversation in the hashtags Team Eurojust and Eurojust. So without further ado, let's go and visit the Eurojust building.
Hi, my name is Cecilia Torfin, and today I want to welcome you to explore this virtual tour of Eurojust, the European Union's Agency for Criminal Justice Cooperation. Created in 2002, Eurojust is located in The Hague, the Netherlands, in the international city of peace and justice. In this beautiful building, which was inaugurated in 2017, around 130 prosecutors and investigative judges from over 30 countries work side by side to tackle all forms of serious cross-border crime. They give hands-on assistance to their colleagues in the national judicial authorities who are working on international criminal investigations and prosecutions, tackling all forms of crime, serious cross-border crime, including terrorism, drug smuggling, human trafficking, cybercrime, or economic crime such as money laundering. So why Eurojust? The European Union is based on freedom, and this is not just an abstract catchphrase, it's a principle that determines our daily lives. The free movement of goods, services, capital and persons gives us the opportunities we need to thrive economically, socially and personally. But to safeguard these principles, two other pillars of the EU are equally important: security and justice. We cannot allow criminals to take advantage of those freedoms. And as crime knows no borders, Europe needs to fight crime across borders as well. In this virtual tour, we offer you the possibility to take a closer look at how we are working and how this agency is set up. The Eurojust building is surrounded by a dune landscape and a water feature, which form a necessary security barrier. Together with the color scheme and materials used inside the building, including a lot of copper, the building intimately reflects the character of the host city, The Hague, a city in the dunes by the sea. So here we are in the lobby of the Eurojust building, and in fact, the structure of the building is also reflecting how Eurojust is set up. Here above me, we have the low rise of the building, and this is where the national members and their teams have their offices. They are senior prosecutors and investigative judges who are seconded from the national judicial authorities and thus not employed by the EU, but representing the member states they come from. And usually the secondments to Eurojust last several years, meaning that they get to know each other very well, they build very close collegial relationships as a basis for creating trust and mutual understanding. And this is actually key to a good result, since judicial cooperation between sovereign states requires a thorough understanding of legal frameworks and of legal cultures. Over here, you can take the elevator up to the high-rise part of the building, and here about 240 support staff are working in what we call the administration of Eurojust. These are people who are directly employed by the agency and serving the national desks in their work. Judicial cooperation officers are available to help and assist the national representatives in the casework, and they also build the center of expertise in cross-border judicial cooperation that Eurojust forms. The experts also produce best practice reports and organize thematic events, for example for prosecutors specialized in a particular crime type, which regularly take place here. Other staff members ensure the security of the building, logistical services, IT systems, arrange translations and interpretation services, and ensure, of course, the proper management of budgets and of staff. Complex cross-border crime investigations can last several months or years, and they require careful planning and coordination and discussion, in which Eurojust and the national desks play a coordinating role. Let me now take you down to one of the coordination meeting rooms and tell you more about how this work is done. Here we are in one of the secure meeting rooms which are used to hold case-specific coordination meetings. The prosecutor in charge of the case can organize one or several such meetings so that all actors needed in the case can meet face-to-face in a secure environment. The number of countries and participants entirely depends on the case and may include judiciary, law enforcement, of course, and Europol. The European Union Agency for Law Enforcement Cooperation regularly participates, as well as representations of customs or food security authorities, depending on the crimes committed. And we also regularly have OLAF here, the EU Anti-Fraud Office. They meet here face-to-face or via a secure video conferencing system to share case information and case files, identify possible parallel investigations, and work out which country is best placed to prosecute a suspect. They also prepare the use of judicial cooperation instruments such as the European Arrest Warrant or European Investigation Order, and they also plan the collection of evidence, which is of course very important once the case goes to trial. There is a possibility to have simultaneous interpretation into all EU languages so that each participant can speak his or her own language, so that language doesn't become a barrier to understanding each other. Regularly, the countries are also assisted to form a joint investigation team. This is an agreement that enables direct cooperation between judiciary and law enforcement authorities for a specific purpose and a specific period of time. The advantage is that the partners in a JIT can cooperate more effectively, including directly collecting and exchanging evidence, and they can also be present during investigative measures on each other's territories. Complex coordinated actions can also result in the organization of a joint action day in which the countries come together to monitor the joint action day here from our coordination center. Here we are inside the coordination center from which such joint action days can be monitored and supported in real time with the assistance of Eurojust's casework unit. It has secure data connections and makes it possible to centralize continuous contacts between all the judicial authorities and law enforcement involved, immediately analyze the information as it is reported from the field, and take the required action. If you would like to step into the shoes of a prosecutor who is working here during one of those joint action days, please play our simulation game. It's a simulation of a coordination center, and we actually take you on a journey, step by step, what happens during one of those days. But this time, you're in charge. You have to take the decisions to bring the case to a successful close. Good luck. Now let's talk a bit about how Eurojust is governed. Each member state appoints a national member to Eurojust, and together they form Eurojust College. They run the operational work together, but they also take decisions on budget and on other managerial issues, such as the multi-annual programming of the agency. They meet every week in this room, which has an oval-shaped table, and this is very much reflecting the way they take their decisions, which is as a group. They appoint a president, who is seated over here, and 2 vice presidents, and they each serve a term of 4 years. In December 2019, the new Eurojust regulation entered into force, and this led to the creation of an executive board, which is supporting the college in its decision-making procedures, and where the European Commission is also taking part. The 240 staff who are working in the administration of Eurojust are reporting to an administrative director. One of the artworks created especially for Eurojust stands outside of the building. It's a large bronze statue by Spanish sculptor Fernando Sanchez Castillo. It's called Reflection, and it portrays a woman seated on a rock in a position similar to that of Rodin's Thinker. As a way to celebrate the cultural diversity at Eurojust, the EU member state that holds the rotating EU presidency is also invited to offer a display of pieces of art in the Eurojust building.
Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed that tour. In the meanwhile, we have the results from your poll. So let me tell you that only 1/4 of the group is joining from the Netherlands. And then we have almost 2/3 from other EU member states, but we still have a couple of people from outside the EU. So it's a wide group by geographic distribution. Thank you so much for your responses. Now, speaking of geographic distribution, you will learn that Eurojust works with third countries. So, of course, we are the European Union Agency for Criminal Justice Cooperation, but crime doesn't stop at the borders of the EU. And one of our major assets in fighting crime that crosses EU borders is that we have prosecutors from third countries at Eurojust, working at Eurojust, and working together with their counterparts from the EU member state. So Miroslava Krasnoborova, who is liaison prosecutor for Ukraine, is one of these prosecutors, and now I hand over to her so she can explain to you about how cases work when a third country is involved at Eurojust.
Thank you very much, Esther. Thank you. And it was, it was a very nice video tour. As for me, I had the feeling that I was almost there. And indeed, as it was highlighted, the role of Eurojust is to make the Europe safer place while providing the communication and cooperation and coordinating the work of the national authorities, and not only of the EU states, but also of the third countries in tackling the transnational crimes. And indeed, Ukraine is not an EU member, but thanks to the cooperation agreement between Ukraine and Eurojust, I can be here to work with my colleagues from another countries and to assist our national authorities in dealing with transnational crimes. And so thank you very much for having me here, and also for giving me this opportunity to explain and to show one of the examples of these successful cases that we had for cooperation between Ukrainian, Polish, and French authorities in dismantling the drug trafficking market. And so all this activity was also supported, and it was also facilitated by Eurojust. So as mentioned, at Eurojust premises, we have not only EU member states representatives, but we also have licensed prosecutors from other countries, so Ukraine, and then we have United States of America, Norway, Switzerland, Georgia, Serbia, North Macedonia, and Montenegro. And so And in this particular case, it is that I want to present today is related to dismantling of the organized crime group activity that was involved in drug trafficking, and namely it was heroin substitute trafficking. So the investigation was launched in October 2018 in France, and it was done by the investigative judge in the court of Paris. And but at the same time, the parallel investigations were ongoing and were conducted by the national authorities of Ukraine and Poland. So after launching the formal proceedings, the case was initiated at Eurojust, started by the French desk at Eurojust, and the main aim was to put this puzzle together and to discuss their further cooperation needs and further steps forward, what to do, how to deal with this case. And somebody may ask how Eurojust can help to fight international crimes, international criminality, cross-border crimes, if it is not investigating and prosecuting itself. And I sincerely believe that the main added value for Eurojust is providing the opportunities, providing the possibilities and facilities for communication of our national authorities, because all of us are different, and so Eurojust helps not only to identify the problem, but also to find a solution and to solve this case. So like in this drug case, so after initial exchange of information, it was clear that there are some common targets, that there are links between the investigation in all three countries, and that there is a need, and all the sides are ready for more active cooperation and for some joint actions. So the coordination meeting was organized at Eurojust, and the main aim was to put all these colleagues together and to discuss the cases. So the meeting took place in one of that smart, very nice, high-tech, soundproof and highly protected meeting rooms that you've seen during the video tour. And it's amazing how far you can move forward if first, you put in one room, you get in one room investigators, prosecutors, investigative judges from different countries. Second, you give them an opportunity to speak freely about their cases, about the details of their cases in their own languages. And at the same moment, immediately in this understanding each other because of the simultaneous translation. And last but not least is to provide them a proper, good advice concerning their cases and their suitable instrument of international cooperation that they can use and that responds their demands. And definitely, in this case, they had the issues to talk about. Because as you can see, the OCG activity took place in two member states, so it's France and Poland, and Ukraine, which is the third country. So the cross-border cooperation has to be involved. So you can imagine all these issues with the border guard services, with the customs services, and also another issue is that we have transit countries. So, okay, you can bring drugs from Ukraine via borders and to Poland. But what then? Will it be the route via Germany, or maybe it would be Austria or Hungary? Nobody knows. And which countries can be also involved? Because even with the best, I would say, preliminary intelligence work, you never know what the perpetrators will do on that exact day. And what we see from our experience here at Eurojust, that for criminals, for them, it's almost no borders, no limitations, they just communicate, they exchange the information very quickly, very rapidly. And it's just one message in WhatsApp, and that's all. The scheme is changed, and you need to start everything from the scratch. And another issue that is also important to look in advance is the matters of further prosecution, because the idea is not only just to apprehend the people, to seize the drugs, but to bring those responsible to responsibility. The justice should be done, and there should be some court verdict. And so far, you need to think who will prosecute the perpetrators, because, for example, Ukraine is not extraditing their own citizens. And here, the advice of Eurojust is also very precious, because all of us here are practitioners from our own countries, and we know not only like a formal legislation and but we also know the practical procedures, how it works in our own country, so we can predicate and look in advance to avoid or overcome some complications in the future. So to achieve the result, in this case, authorities from France, Poland, and Ukraine had to act together and to act proactively, and not to be bounded by some long, time-consuming and long traditional, for example, procedures like traditional MLA procedures. When you send the request, it goes via all the channels, and you can wait for the response for half a year or even more. But so it was decided that the JIT, the Joint Investigation Team, should be established, and so the states agreed. And this joint investigation team consists of representatives both from law enforcement and from judiciary from all three countries. And this JIT was supported by Eurojust. It was supported both financially, because you always need money for translation, for travels, for technical equipment, but it was also supported with expertise. What to do, how to proceed, how to plan the action day. And again, I will, one more asset of Eurojust, that we have a JIT secretariat network in the house at Eurojust. So you can always rely on their advice and their expertise and support. Well, my personal opinion is that at the moment, JIT is one of the most effective, if really, I would say, the most effective instrument of international cooperation in such large-scale crimes, because it provides this possibility to react swiftly and to be flexible on such a variable type of crimes that we faced last years. And so it was really important that in this case the JIT was established. So now let's move to the day X, to the action day. So it happened already very quickly, and the center, the coordination center was established, was set up at Eurojust to facilitate the action day and to coordinate common actions, and also to provide assistance to our home authorities, because you never know what issue will pop up. Maybe you will need somewhere a court order, maybe you will need some additional approval from prosecutor, or maybe the route has changed and you need to automatically change all the actions. So on the action day, more than 150 magistrates and law enforcement from all three countries were deployed. And as a result of this action day that led at the end of the day to 9 arrests and more than 20 searches in houses and cars, more than 7,200 pills were seized from the Ukrainian illegal market, and the value of that pills was more than, I believe, more than $100,000 US dollars. And also the colleagues seized cars, they seized some equipment, money, and other valuable evidences of activity of this organized crime group. And just to show how it looked like, so we have some photos. So you can see, so this is the pills, and every time when I look at these pills, I think that every single pill of this more than 7,000 could affect somebody's health or even life. And all this illegal market, illegal drug market, was dismantled due to the assistance that was provided by Eurojust and that was launched here in The Hague. So I also just the feedback I cannot share about other countries, but just in Ukraine, with regard to the persons who were arrested, the case was also successfully sent to the court. So I believe it's one of the examples of our, I would say, everyday work at Eurojust, and example of the cooperation that we have to tackle international criminality and to provide criminal justice over the border, and also the justice done. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Miroslava. It was a very interesting explanation. That's quite a complex case. Now let me show you how many of these cases does Eurojust handle in a year? Because as you can imagine, this is quite a lot of work for Miroslava, for her colleagues at the other involved countries. But it's definitely not the only case that Eurojust processes. So if you look at our graph here, you will see that in 2019, last year, we had almost 8,000 cases, which means that 8,000 cases, national authorities approached Eurojust and said, we would need your help here. We would need your help in connecting us to our colleagues in other countries, in other EU member states or third countries. And in some cases, these cases were even initiated by the liaison prosecutors at Eurojust. So this is the total workload of Eurojust. A lot of these cases can be solved by Eurojust quite fast. In a lot of cases, what prosecutors need is quick information, access to the, let's say, the criminal records database of another country. And this can be done at Eurojust within a matter of hours. These rapid response cases can produce very good results because quite a lot of the time, this information is needed so that a prosecutor can take action, that they would not have to release someone from custody, that they could even use this while court proceedings are ongoing. So this is one way Eurojust acts, and this is something that can be closed in a couple of days. The other 2/3 of our caseload consists of complex long-running investigations, such as Miroslava described in the example that she has shown you. So these are cases that run for months, sometimes even years, and certainly tend to carry over from one year to the next. And this is where the Eurojust expertise really comes into play, because again, as we have heard, to set up a joint investigation team, it's very good to have the ear and eyes of someone who has done that 100 times already, who can advise you on matters of conflicts of jurisdiction or how to fill in European arrest warrant or any of the other tools that are used by prosecutors to fight cross-border crime. And what kind of results do we see from these? Eurojust cases don't have direct results in the sense that we are not the ones arresting or prosecuting people. Eurojust assists the national authorities in doing that. But we still keep track of what the cases come to when Eurojust was participating, when Eurojust was helping with the coordination and the cooperation. And from the statistics of last year, you can see that there is quite some results here. Eurojust arranged or helped arrange the arrest or surrender of almost 3,000 suspects. We helped negotiate 800 agreements on where to prosecute a suspect. And from these cases, in these cases, quite a lot of money was gained back from criminals. So 2 billion euros in criminal assets were seized or frozen. 2.8 billion euros worth of drugs were seized. So that's cocaine and heroin and cannabis that it's not with the criminal groups anymore, but destroyed or disposed of as appropriate. And of course, it's not just cash that is seized, but all kinds of valuables, laptops, jewelry, cars, and all kinds of tools where criminals are storing their money or their information. So we are quite proud of the results that we get together with the national authorities. Now let me show you how we work with third countries, the global network of Eurojust. Miroslava referred to this already, and of course she has shown you the best example of how Eurojust works with countries outside of the EU, because 9 countries now have delegated liaison prosecutors to Eurojust. These are prosecutors or investigative judges working at Eurojust in The Hague, together with the national members of the EU member states, and working together on a daily basis. These liaison prosecutors are attached to Eurojust based on cooperation agreements. So Eurojust has concluded cooperation agreements with about a dozen third countries. And this allows us to exchange operational data, personal data. You know that the data protection requirements of the European Union are quite strict. So, of course, these countries were scrutinized quite in detail to allow us to do that. On top of this, Eurojust has a network of contact points in over 50 countries all over the world. And with these contact points, we cannot exchange operational data, but it's still very, very important that we know whom to call, let's say in India or quite a lot of other countries, South Africa, when we need something, when the prosecutors coming to Eurojust need information from these countries, when they need to contact someone who is an expert in that legal area. So this allows Eurojust to assist the cases coming from the EU member states and from third countries in quite a wide network. In the meanwhile, we are getting some questions from you. So let's try and answers for that. First question is also a cooperation question, but a different kind of one. How does Eurojust cooperate with the EPPO, the European Public Prosecutor's Office?
Yeah, indeed. I believe that it would be one of our also key partners. At the moment, as for me, I do not have any experience, and because it's not fully operational yet, but still, so we have the same aim, but a little bit different functionality. So Eurojust is not investigating the cases itself, but it facilitates the communication between the national authorities. So we help for all these procedures like mutual legal assistance, extraditions, transfer of criminal proceedings. We facilitate all this like traditionally very long time consuming process to go faster, to go smoother, and so we hope that we will help the same way to EPPO also with their cases.
Thank you. Another question is about crime types. We usually hear that, okay, this case was solved where it was about drug trafficking, or that case was solved when it was about cybercrime. But is there usually some kind of combination in the cases that Eurojust handles? So there is, let's say, drug trafficking and money laundering, or is it more separate? How does it work?
Yeah, it's true, and especially in this situation, you know, we even have this among colleagues. We have this joke that the criminality look for this COVID situation and decide, okay, let's also work with the cyber cases, yeah, because it's level, I go to the cybersphere because indeed now these crime tapes are such a hybrid because yeah, we speak about, for example, fraud, but then you have cyber fraud. So when the money are stolen via using computer, or for example, you had child pornography, also cyber involved. And as for example, for the JITs, it's very typical. So for JIT, you need the connected investigation in at least 2 countries. And so it's a very common situation that, for example, one country investigates the misappropriation of funds, and the other country investigates money laundering. So it's very, very hybrid. So it's also can be connected like terrorism and cybercrime. It's human trafficking and terrorism. So it's very, I wouldn't say very rare, but still there are more and more these hybrid cases.
Good. A question about how Ukraine works with Eurojust. When it was decided that Ukraine would have a liaison prosecutor at Eurojust, did your country have to change the laws, or was there any change in the judiciary there? So is there some kind of effect that Eurojust has?
It has a huge effect. Well, I would say that I believe that negotiations about the cooperation agreement between Eurojust and Ukraine, it started in the mid of 2000s, and it was launched, but then it was verified that the data protection that you mentioned, data protection legislation in Ukraine was not in line with the EU standards, because as you mentioned also that EU standards are really high. So, and Ukraine had to do a lot of homework to achieve the certain level that was also very for a long time verified. And then I believe in the beginning of 2010, the negotiations when we have brought all our legislation concerning data protection to the level that EU demands. So the negotiations were renewed, and the cooperation agreement, it was signed in June 2016, and after that we also had to do additional homework to second the license prosecutor here, because it was also a discussion if, because it's complicated procedure and how to do this and how to organize it, how to put it all this together. So the first license prosecutor, it's me, I was seconded in August 2018.
So indeed, that
it was a challenge.
That took quite some doing.
Yeah, but at least now we have a good data protection legislation.
Absolutely.
It's a very good result.
Absolutely, and that's quite important, of course, also on a general level, especially in these online times.
True.
Another question: how did Eurojust react to the COVID crisis? What can be done these days? And because we have seen, of course, the nice building, how is it working now?
You know, I believe that Eurojust really coped with this situation very good. And it was also due to some preliminary work that was done by Eurojust when nobody expected the COVID, because Eurojust put a lot of efforts in the security and also to providing their employees and us as national members and national desks members and also license prosecutor to provide us with a possibility to work, I would say, almost 24/7, because you never know when your home authority will ask you for the assistance. So we had these secure laptops with which we could work remotely. So it was very smooth. When it was the first lockdown, it went very smooth, and we could work, continue our work from home. But anyway, and another issue that was another very good reaction that Eurojust provided is the opportunity to continue our everyday operational work via video conferences. Because anyway, you cannot write everything. You really need to talk to people, to meet, to discuss the cases, because criminality doesn't stop with the COVID. Yes, for us, the borders are closed. For them, it's new possibilities. Yes, so they proceed with these new possibilities. Of course, we have all the possibilities to conduct these video meetings. Of course, it cannot be like sometimes we really want to talk to person face to face. But I believe that in this situation, this temporary solution is really, really good. Because at least our operational work doesn't stop.
Indeed. There's a question about if liaison prosecutors at Eurojust can work directly with each other, or do they have to go via an EU member state, and what's the possibility there?
First of all, we had a very good cooperation between us as a licensed prosecutor, because all of us on the same floor, and we had this like friendly and very good network. But if to look from the formal side, indeed we need when we want to register the case at Eurojust, as it is an EU agency, at least one EU member state should be involved. So I cannot register the case just directly towards Switzerland or Georgia or Norway. But if, for example, we have Sweden and Switzerland, so I can register the case and we can launch this cooperation. So it works like that.
It's possible. Do you think it's a very different experience being at Eurojust as a national member or as a liaison prosecutor? Is it?
No, I believe yeah, of course, there is some differences between our statuses, especially like with regard to governance. So licensed prosecutors are not involved in any governmental issues. But when it goes to concerning their operational work, I believe the difference is not so big. And maybe it's also, it depends from country to country, but what is one of the advantages why the said countries who has the cooperation agreements of Eurojust, they second their licensed prosecutors, because this give us an opportunity to be proactive, to register cases ourselves, because I was for a long time Eurojust contact point, and and even when the cooperation agreement was already in the force. So yes, you have some possibilities for cooperation, but you really need to wait when the EU member states will ask you for some assistance. But now, when you receive some information that from your home authorities that some interests of another EU state or are violated, or there are perpetrators, or there are some connected investigation, you can do it proactively, and it's really good because we can initiate the cases, we can organize the coordination meetings, we can organize the coordination center, we also can ask for assistance for the JITs, so it's really, really good cooperation.
You mentioned that the JIT Network Secretariat at Eurojust and Eurojust itself provides quite a lot of expertise and support with best practices about the joint investigation teams. But does Eurojust do this in for other tools as well? So not just for JITs, but
yes, and because as it was mentioned in the video tour, there is administration, and who also assist us, the cases very much, because sometimes you need to verify the data. Sometimes you need to put and to make the general report, to put all the cases together, to make some analytic and to make some proposal about the further steps. And also it is very important to receive some legislation advice, because you cannot know the legislation of other countries so perfectly as yours. So administration helps also a lot with the cases.
I have a question that asks about the European Investigation Order, EIO. Do you work with EIOs?
No.
Is it, is it
No, this
possible, or do you just see them in the cases between?
So, and it's a really good instrument, but it's available for EU countries that simplifies the procedures very much. And unfortunately, with regard to the third countries, namely with regard to Ukraine, we still need to use this traditional MLA procedure. With regard to the EU states, it's normally Council of Europe Convention on Mutual Legal Assistance, and so it's always this traditional MLA procedures.
Can you explain to the visitors what the European Investigation Order is, or what it does then between member states?
Yes, well, as far as I know, as far as I know, it's a simplified form of the request for conducting of procedural actions, which which the authorities of one member state send to the authorities of another member states. Why it is so handy and why it is so convenient? Because it is like a standard form which is available in all the EU member states' languages, and so you do not need to lose so much time and money for translation, of the whole text. So you can just translate some pieces, and it's really clear what kind of crime is investigated, what kind of procedural actions are requested, and I believe the main issue of these EIOs is this bilateral or multilateral trust within EU member states. And normally they are executing very quickly because they are sent indirectly, so perfect instrument.
It's interesting that you mentioned trust, because I have a trust question.
Okay.
When you describe Eurojust to your colleagues in Ukraine, do you have to convince them a lot or work a lot on, making sure that, yes, you can ask me questions, yes, you can share your cases with Eurojust, it's going to be okay? Is the trust there, or is that work?
It was really interesting because when we just started cooperation with Eurojust, and even when I was not seconded, and after first months when I was just seconded, it was like, okay, Eurojust. Is it something like Interpol, Europol? Do you bring your cases to International Criminal Court or International Court of Justice? So it was really not much awareness about Eurojust. But one of my tasks was to make, I would say, this like marketing seminars and to explain for different authority what is Eurojust, how Eurojust works. But in our case, it's better to have one practical case than to have 7 seminars, because when the people see that you can help them on practice, it is really helpful. So you take a case, you help them, okay, they see that Eurojust is not complicating their work because there is no bureaucracy. So the request, the question can be sent just by simple email, and so they do not need like a million of signatures and stamps and translation. So everything is done in English. So it's very easy because you do not need to think, oh, where can I find the interpreter in Hellenic or in Spanish or etc. So everything is done in English and done very quickly. So when you have one by one the successful cases, the rumors are spreading that Eurojust is really a good tool to use too, and even with these quarantine issues and with these restrictions, I looked for my statistic and it's increasing, so it's really a good sign of the trust.
Now, something that might be a personal question, but have you ever handled a case at Eurojust that was quite shocking to you, or that where you felt, oh, this is too much? How does that work?
Yeah, I believe that. So when you choose your work and you when you choose to be a prosecutor, you should be really ready for different kind of cases. But of course, some cases cannot leave you like without any effect on you, and because when you read about, I would say, terrorism cases where there are a lot of people died and kids, and you see all these photos, or also the cases of human trafficking, horrible cases of human trafficking, and cases of child pornography. So you really you really put these cases in your head, and you really react on them. But it's our aim to show to fight impunity, you know, to decrease the number of these cases, to show that anyway that there is a justice across the border. So it doesn't mean that if, okay, you made a crime, you committed a crime in Ukraine and you went to EU, that there will be no responsibility. No, the responsibility will be there, and Eurojust is here to help to bring the perpetrators to that responsibility.
Thank you. There's a question here on what it takes to be a prosecutor or become a prosecutor in Ukraine. That was a theme throughout the day when we had some various answers from our various visitors. But how is it? You have to go to law school?
Yeah, there is a number of criteria that you can be a prosecutor in Ukraine, and now it gives a lot of opportunities from the people from like not from the prosecutor system, even to join the prosecutor general office. So we have these competitions, and people are employed. So namely, of course, you need to have the legal education, and you need to have the experience, and you need to pass some kind of exams and etc. Then you can be, so there are 3 levels of prosecution offices, so it is local, regional, and prosecutor general office. But at this moment, as we say, it's an open window of opportunities, because you can join prosecutor general office immediately.
Something that definitely reflects how Eurojust works. Do you notice in your daily work the differences between judicial systems and work cultures from the various countries? Tell us more.
Yeah, it's really a huge difference between different countries, and it's one of the exciting aspects of our work, because the easiest way is to say, okay, my national legislation does not allow this, my national legislation doesn't allow that, but the more interesting is to find the solution. And also, with some time, you really get the experience what is the practices and legislation in other countries. For example, for us, it was very, as Ukraine, it was very unusual that, for example, in Belgium or in France, they have investigative judges who are so involved in the pre-trial investigation. Because in Ukraine, it's you go to the investigative judge only when you need some kind of authorization, like for search or access for the documents, etc. But in France, the judge is really leading the investigation, and it's really provides all the cooperation with all the law enforcement authorities. So you really need to look precisely on every country, but it's really interesting.
And I suppose at Eurojust you have a very good opportunity to learn about a lot of these cultures, because we have indeed quite a few of them in-house. Yeah. That was all the time we had, so I wish to thank you, first of all, Miroslava, and definitely our visitors for joining us on this virtual open day. I encourage you to visit the Eurojust website, and also follow us on Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn if you wish to learn more about Eurojust. Once again, thanks for visiting us today, and I wish you a very nice evening. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you. Thank you, Esther.
Thank you.